Hello everyone and welcome back to APPF1 Tier 2. We're here in the track of chaos where literally anything can happen. It's Baku in Azerbaijan. Hello to Lopez in the chat and hello to our drivers on the track. Let's have a look at all of these details and there we go. Right, so we're here in Baku. Lawrence has an 18-point lead at the head of the Drivers' Championship, but we know his record in Baku is not particularly good, put it that way, and he's going to have a tough time winning the championship today. He would need to outscore LB by 3 points, I believe. I'm not sure about countback. Let me just double check that. No, he would need to outscore LB by 4 points to secure the title mathematically today because of the fastest lap point and also LB having better countback than Lawrence due to having more wins. 2 wins to Lawrence's 1. So it's all about whether Lawrence can outscore LB. If Lawrence wins this race, he wins the title. It's simple as that. There's still a round in Brazil to go next week, and the Constructors is still very much on the line as well. We've got Alfa Romeo on 189 with Williams on 186, and both drivers from both teams are in today's Grand Prix. Mr. J-Man, the only driver out on track today without a teammate, which is quite sad for him. Unfortunately, but last time he raced in Baku, it didn't go particularly well either. But it wasn't his fault. It was a certain famous moment at turn 3, put it that way, between him and Lawrence that handed a certain Darth Nihilus the title on a silver platter. But here we are again, and it's RJ who's going to set the first lap of the session. I'm very intrigued to see what the pace is going to be. Jack says it's going to be wet in the race. So it's going to be, well, I don't know when it's going to rain because I forgot to put weather on approximate, so that's my bad on that one as RJ hits the wall on the exit of turn 2. There's no visible damage to his Mercedes, but there could be superficial damage, which he will find out in the next corner. Oh, he's braked far too late. Mr. J-Man's out in the castle section. I don't know how he's managed that. Has he done a Leclerc? And we're about to find out. No, his car's despawned, but it was about here where the stricken red dot was on the mini-map. So that is J-Man out of the qualifying session already, and he's just put LOL in the chat. So, yeah, so we will see what he can do from the back of the grid. Robsu on an outlap. Where's RJ? He's just coming into sector 2 now, so he's going again by the looks of it. Unless it was... No, it wasn't Sumo setting the lap. So RJ... oh no, he's way down. Okay, I see. So he's going again. We've got, who's the first to set a lap? I don't know who the first is going to be. LB going through the middle sector right now. I think it might be Palang the first to set a lap in his Aston Martin today. Down through the last braking zone of the circuit he goes. Nicely done from the Canadian driver. 55% ERS left, all the way down the straight. That will be deployed. Long straight. And yeah, Mr. J-Man saying, lol, that escalated quickly in the chat. What happened, man? Was it a Leclerc moment or something else? Palang, a 42.7 is the initial pace from the Aston Martin driver. Not bad at all, I have to say. But it's going to be interesting to see the setups on the drivers today, because there's a lot of variance with what you can do with the setups at this track. You can either go very high, you can either go pretty high wings and be a monster in the corners and better with the tyre wear, or you can go very low wings and struggle in the corners, but be a nightmare to overtake and a nightmare to have behind you on the straights, because you can overtake from 8, 9 tenths back out of the last braking zone if you've got low wings compared to high wings. Jack Alacco goes pole, though, for now in his Williams at 42.6, just half a tenth ahead of Palang, and LB, the championship challenger, is 2 tenths behind him, but Alex beats them all with a 42.3. He has been so good in qualifying this season. Unfortunately, his races have not quite been up to the same standard, but as of late, but he'll be looking to get himself back in form today at the toughest track on the calendar. Robsu goes P6 in the meantime, a second down. Had to pay tribute to Leclerc, so it was a Leclerc moment for Mr. J-Man, unfortunately. So he's going to have to start from the back here. Aces versus Kings coming around the last corner. Not deploying ERS at the moment, as Lawrence comes out the last braking zone as well. 40% on the battery. I don't know if that's going to be enough to get him to the line without going into the 10% reserves a bit. And we've got legendary commentator Zach Sweeney in the chat saying that he recognises half of these guys, so he's not completely out of touch. Not completely. It has been a while, Zach, but Lawrence does go into that 10% range of the ERS, so lost a bit of power just before the line, but wouldn't have affected him too much as he goes P6 for now, 7.5 tenths behind and 3 tenths behind, or 2.5 behind his main championship rival, the two-time Tier 2 champion LB. As RJ on an outlap again, trying his best to get something on the board. I mean, just getting a lap on the board is going to get him out of last place at the moment, so that's got to be on his mind. As long as you don't crash, you will be at least 10th. Ace's lap wasn't the best either. Obviously made a mistake in that one, and he's going again by the looks of it. Let's have a look at the ERS. Is it going down as he goes out of this corner? Yes, it is. So he is pushing as he comes down towards the final sector now. Through these the series of flat-out left-handers, and now to the braking zone. You've got to get it right. It's so easy to brake too late there or lock up, and you're going straight into the wall. Aces down towards the final sector, 12.9 seconds clear of his previous best. So he's looking at a P3 or 4 here with this lap as he goes down towards the line. DRS is going to open very shortly. There's the activation, there's the detection point, and the activation point is there, and the rear wing opens, gives him a bit more top speed down the straight towards the line. It's a 41.5 from Aces versus Kings. That has come right out of the top drawer, and I don't think anyone is going to be able to beat that. What a lap from Aces, 8.5 tenths ahead of Alex. That is absolutely wild from the ever-improving Haas driver. As RJ retires from the session, just as I say, all he needs to do is set a lap, and he will be P10 at worst, and he has binned it in Sector 2. So he will be starting P11. Well, another place for Sumo. He's actually not that far behind Robsu here, only about half a tenth, so we'll see what he can do, if he can improve as the session goes on. But wow, that lap from Aces. I'm just going to compare that to times from Elite and Tier 1. Tier 1, sorry, Elite, that would have been P2 on the grid. That is a whole... that is 7 tenths faster than what he did in Elite on Sunday. So he has been practicing, has Aces. Tier 1, that would have put him 41.5. That is 1.7 behind. So that would have put him P8 in Tier 1, P9. So not a bad effort from Aces at all. That is wildly, wildly faster than everyone else so far, and they're really going to have to up their game to beat that. Jack Alacco, the Scottish driver, no exception as he comes through turn 2 now. Third gear through turn 2, doesn't go into second for the turn in, stays in third. Confident in the grip of those soft tyres as he heads down towards turn 3. There's an Alfa Romeo right behind him. That is LB, the championship challenger. So LB will hope that he hasn't timed this wrong and he's not going to catch up to Jacko too quickly. But if he's timed this right, he actually might not get too much dirty air and a slipstream all the way down to the line, which would be massive. The time you can gain from a slipstream on this circuit in the region of 4 or 5 tenths down that final straight. So it's going to be huge if he can catch up to Jacko in these last stages of the lap. But the Scottish driver doing well. He's coming through sector 2 now, hasn't invalidated through there, right on the edge of doing so, as he comes through the middle sector and down towards the last couple of braking zones in the circuit, down to third gear and round the corner fairly simply for the Williams driver around the final corner. He's 1.18 seconds up, so Aces' time not looking as unbeatable as it was just a few moments ago. Here comes Jacko through the last few corners and down the straight. DRS is going to open. Can he snatch pole here with 6.5 minutes left to go in the session? He's coming up to the line now. How close is it going to be? It's enough by 0.02 of a second. Wow, the top two separated by a hair as Alex is coming through to the final sector now. Is he improving? No, he's not. He's a tenth down and he spins out of that corner. Has to do a bit of a three-point turn to get himself back. Palang goes ahead of him, his teammate for today, into P3. But Alex is going to have to try again, the Ukrainian driver. On fire in qualifying this season as Sumo goes into P5. He's going to be delighted with that one on his new wheel. One of his best qualifying performances of the season if it stays like this, but we know the huge amounts of improvement you can get at Baku sometimes. As Lawrence, the championship leader, he needs more. He's in sector 1 at the moment. He's 1.5 tenths up, but that's not enough to get him anywhere close to the top runners. So he needs a lot in this middle sector now. He's got an Aston Martin right behind him. I'm not sure which one. I think that might be Palang on his in lap. Yes, it is. So no danger for Lawrence there, as he comes through the castle section where Mr. J-Man crashed a few minutes ago, through down towards the last couple of braking zones on the circuit. Look how fast it is through these couple of flat-out left-handers as he comes down towards the penultimate braking zone. A little bit squirrely on the exit, but not too bad. Used all of the track there on entry. And same with this last corner, 8.5 tenths up. That's much better from Lawrence. And this could see him up into the second row here as he goes down towards the line now. DRS is going to open. He's got much more ERS in the bank as well, so he won't lose time down towards the line like the last lap he did. DRS open. 8th gear, 210 miles per hour, and it's a 41.9 from the championship leader to put him into P3, well ahead of his championship rival LB, and he'll be chuffed with that one. But of course, there's a long 26 laps to come, and we're getting reports that there is going to be rain in the race as well. So all these qualifying standings might not matter at all at the end of the day. It's Baku after all. Anything can happen around here as Robsu looks like he's peeling into the pit lane. Yes, he is. Not continuing that lap, so he's going to come in, try again. He's got one more attempt at it, does the Finnish driver, but currently he's sitting all the way down in P9 as most drivers now in the pits. Ace is on an outlap and Lawrence heading out. As LB says he's put the wrong setup on. He's put his Silverstone setup on at a crucial time in the championship fight. He's put the wrong setup on, and he is going to have a horrible time through some of these corners. So LB, a bit of a blunder there. at a critical time. All Lawrence needs to do is gain 4 points on his rival, and he will be the champion today with 1 race to go. As he cuts across the corner there. I'm not sure if that's allowed. I think someone might be watching this stream afterwards and reporting him for that. We will see. But Aces into the middle sector now. He's not improving, so he's going to try again on his next run. Lawrence heading into the pit lane. Has he got enough time? That's the question. 2.5 minutes. Jacalaco's binned it at turn 1 by the looks of it. You can see his dot on the mini-map. As well, I saw a bit of broken front wing get cleared by the game there, as Lawrence has retired from the session as well in the pit lane. He didn't have time to go in again. P3 is going to be the best he's got today if he can't improve on that. If no one else can improve further, that is. As we've got all these drivers out on outlaps ready to improve. Robsu, I think in particular, is the one who I'm expecting the most improvement on. He finished P3 on his debut a few seasons ago on this very track in Tier 2. So we know he's good at this track, but we also know that since F1 2021, he hasn't quite been the same, or since F1 2023 rather. What am I, 21, what am I on about? That he's not been up to the standards that he was when he first joined Tier 2. But he's still, no matter what, he sits P3 in the championship. So despite all of that, we know he has pace in that car. He's just got to unlock it, as Aces trying to prove that now. He's got 2 thousandths to find on Jacalaco, and he's found 27 of them through Sector 1. He's going to have to hold that through the next few sectors, though, as Jacalaco says he's been code mastered. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but we will see. As Aces through the middle sector, through the castle section, pretty on the limit from the Haas driver by the looks of it. Not quite as far on the outside as Jacko was through that corner, but he still desperately wants this pole position after he just missed out last week as well. Through the final couple of corners he goes. Robsu is going to go last to first, says Lupis. So we will see about that. But Aces, he's still half a tenth up, so he just needs to keep that going through the final sector, which is basically just one corner. The rest is flat out as he comes all the way down to the line. Can he beat Jacko at the post? 4 seconds left in this quali session. He's going to be the first to settle up across the line. There's others as well that have the potential to improve, but here comes the British driver. Is it going to be enough for pole? No, it's not enough. He lost time in the final corner, and Aces 2 thousandths away from pole position. What's Palang got? He's a 10th up in Sector 1. Alex G is in Sector 2 at the moment. Who's going to be next across the line? It's going to be LB. He improves to P3, just ahead of his championship rival, despite a Silverstone setup. Maybe he was bluffing, who knows? But Sumo's half a second up as well in the Mercedes as he comes down towards the line. He's going to be delighted with his pace in qualifying today. The race is going to be a different ball game, but down towards the line he goes. 8%, 7% ERS. It's P5 for Sumo. Great improvement for the Mercedes driver. As Alex as well, coming down, he's 1.3 seconds up. This could be a last second pole for Alex G. Out of nowhere as Scott goes to P6. Who else has got anything in the tank? Alex, DRS open, down towards the line. Is it enough for pole? We're about to find out. Is it enough? It is. A 41.1 blows Jacko and Aces out of the water. And he is pole position for, I think, the 3rd time this season. What about his teammate? Has Palang got anything to stop him? It's pretty good from Palang, actually. It's P4, 41.6 for him. Robsu's going to be the last across the line. 4 tenths up in Sector 2. Is it going to be enough to get himself any further up the table? No, a 42.9. And Robsu is going to have to try and do that last to first that Lupis mentioned. But it's Alex G on pole position. Jacko says fair play in the chat. and it's a great performance from the Aston Martin driver. P1 for him, 41.135, but as we know in Baku, qualifying doesn't matter all that much a lot of the time. Jakalako in P2 on the front row as Aces misses out by a few thousandths of a second. Palang joins him on the front row with LB and Lawrence on the third row together. You couldn't ask for a better start between those two as Sumo, Scott and Robsu round out the rest of the grid with Mr. J-Man and RJ unable to set a lap. Jacko says, thought it was going to be a second pole for Jaku Bako around Azerbaijan. Oh, would have been good. Would have been good, but Alex G takes it away right at the last. And it is, oh boy, oh boy. It is heavy rain here in Baku. Well then. We have quite the situation on our hands as the drivers are going to have to figure out how to drive in these conditions. The drivers with no line in particular are going to struggle the most, I think. Particularly Lawrence, the championship leader, might have a bad time. Jakalako, both racing without line. And I know Aces is without line as well, but he's more used to it than the other two. So we will see how this goes, but I am wary of carnage. RIP, the person driving wet Baku with a dry Silverstone setup. Well, as long as LB wasn't bluffing, yeah, he's going to have a bad time around this wet circuit. We're going to see. It's Ash in the chat. Welcome, Ash. I'm sure cheering Sumo on as well. And bad for Robsu. Yeah, for sure. With low wings, this is going to be a nightmare. So, let's see. Everyone's... Oh, look at this. Everyone on Inters except for Jakalako, who starts on the wet tyres. He has seen something that the others haven't. As he comes through Sector 1, just about misses that wall on the formation lap. As always, absolutely. Me too, Ash, me too. My commentary partner always want him to do well. He's had a torrid season, his first season on the wheel. But P7 is a great qualifying effort from him today. As Alex taps the wall in turn 3 on the exit. On the Inters, but I'm really interested to see if Jacko's got this right or not. It could be a terrible mistake, or it could be a strategic masterclass, or it might not matter at all because of the safety cars that we're likely going to get today. So we will see. But formation lap gives the drivers a chance to work out the conditions a little bit. Try and figure out where they stand and where the grip is around this already very tricky circuit, but in these conditions it's going to be an absolute nightmare for them. Through the middle sector and down towards the last couple of corners. This is going to be the corner that I think is going to catch drivers out. Braking a little bit too late or locking up on entry, and you're straight into that wall, and it's really, really difficult to get yourself out of that particular pickle. So we shall see as Alex, Jacko and Aces have broken away from the rest of the pack a lot here. Palang a long, long way back, and he could get penalised for this. It's that is a big, big gap he's opened up to the top 3 on this formation lap, and he's trying his best to catch up now, but it might be too late. I think if someone reports that, then he could be finding himself with a penalty, could Palang. APP, I think, does have a TikTok, but we're not active on it at the moment, unfortunately. But we probably should be more active on that, but I don't know the first thing about TikTok, nor do I want to, so it would have to be someone else who manages it. But here we go, as all the drivers get lined up on the grid. We're about to get going for what's going to be a chaotic, wet Azerbaijan Grand Prix. It's the penultimate round in a thrilling championship battle. Here we go, 3, 4, 5 red lights. And eventually we're underway for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. It's a great start from Alex at the front. Jacko struggling on his wet tyres from the get-go, but he just about gets through, but he's tagged by Palang into turn 1, and Aces goes a bit wide. I think he might have hit the wall on the exit. Alex opens a big lead straight away as a result, as Mr. J-Man's round at the back as well, and the Ferrari, I'm not sure what happened to him, but Jacko and Mr. J-Man, disastrous starts. As Aces fights Palang down towards turn 3. LB trying to fight with Scott as well for P5. They're side by side as they head into turn 3. This could end in disaster, but it hasn't. LB backs out, and Palang getting past Aces in the meantime at turn 3. As Lawrence tries it as well around the outside of turn 4. What a move from the championship leader. Can he hold it? He's got the inside for turn 4. Mr. J-Man's round again. He's having a horrible time in these conditions so far, but don't give up, J-Man, if you're listening, because the safety car's almost certainly going to come out at some point, as Ace is down the inside of Lawrence into the next corner. Alex retires. Alex is out. He was leading the race. He's out from the lead of the race. He's binned it by himself from the lead in these horrible, horrible conditions. And he is going to be devastated with himself. He's going to be so angry that he's done that. He was leading by over a second from Palang, and he's put himself into the wall. But in these conditions, it's so easy to do. Mr. J-Man somehow got no damage, by the way. But we do have a VSC, which he is adhering to right now, as LB and Scott somehow swap positions. A lot of people somehow swapping positions, as there's Scott's round. I think that was why. Scott round. I think he locked the rears into that corner. And these conditions are already catching out drivers, and we haven't even finished lap 1 yet. And we've got green flags again. It's Palang who leads the way in the Aston Martin. But Jacko might have a word to say about that. Sumo gets past RJ, jumps his teammate, as Mr. J-Man now retires and bins it in Sector 2. RJ losing a ton of time on the straight. I think he's bailing into the pit lane. Palang leading away again, as the virtual safety car's out once more after Mr. J-Man's retirement. RJ into the pits for a new front wing. We've got 2 retirements already from 1 lap. So this is going to be quite an interesting race. Jacko looks like he's doing all right on the wet tyres for now. Obviously got tagged early on into turn 1 by the current race leader. So we'll see how that is. But I think it was a tricky one, because they were 3 wide going into turn 1. So it's tough to call, really, from my perspective. I'm sure the stewards will have a look at it later. But Sumo getting a drive through. No, Sumo for speeding under the VSC. He's got himself a drive through on lap 2. And he is going to be so mad at himself. I don't know how he's managed to do that, but he has. And Robsu and Jacko will look to clear him as soon as possible. He goes very, very deep there. And he's going to be very compromised on the exit. Hits the wall. Both Robsu and Jacko get past him. And now Palang's pinned it. Palang's pinned it in the same place that his teammate did. Unbelievable. How can you predict that? 2 laps and both Aston Martins bin it in the same place on successive laps. How has that happened? They've both done it from the lead of the race as well, from over a second ahead of P2. Both of them have met exactly the same fate, and you just couldn't write it. You really couldn't write that. Oh my goodness me. Well, Sumo's going to have to come in for a drive-through, but you'll have to wait until that VSC is done. As Robsu now 5 seconds behind LB. It's the top two, Lawrence and Aces, close together. Then LB quite a way behind, but Robsu an age behind the three of them. Jackalacko right behind on those wet tyres, looking to make the most of them, but he can't at the moment because of all these VSCs stopping him in his tracks. Sumo will be hoping it's green flags before the line so he can serve this drive-through as soon as possible. But I don't think he's going to get lucky with that somehow. I think he's going to have to wait a bit longer. No, it is still out. It looked like it was coming in then, but it is still out. So Sumo will have to wait one more lap to serve that drive-through, unless he tries to serve it now. I think he's going to try and serve it now, and he's going to get a rude awakening. Unless, no, he's come in and the green flags are out. He's gotten very, very lucky there, as his teammate now also gets a drive-through. All the teammates suffering the same fates at the moment. What's going to happen here as Jacko gets past Robsu into turn 2, but Robsu gets the switchback. Scott's right behind them as well, trying to get past Jacko, who gets a huge snap on the exit with those wet tyres, and he's down to P6 now after briefly being into P4. What penalty has Robsu got? Is that also a drive-through? It is! Robsu with a drive-through too. Everyone getting drive-throughs, everyone crashing out into the wall as well. What is going on in this Grand Prix? I told you, you cannot predict anything at Baku. The championship leader is leading the Grand Prix, but he's got no front wing on that Williams. He must have crashed into the wall at some point when I wasn't looking, and so he's going to have to pit as well. It's all happening here in Baku, and we've only had 2.5 laps. There's still 24 to go, everyone. I cannot keep up with all this drama. No one can call the race winner, or even anyone on the podium at this point. It is completely unpredictable, and we're just going to have to watch and see what happens here. Robsu going to have to come in for that drive-through. Scott and Jacko will be looking to get past. Sumo and RJ a long way behind after RJ pitted and had to serve a drive-through, and Sumo had to serve a drive-through of his own. Now Robsu's going to have to serve one. Lawrence doing remarkably well with no front wing, by the way. I don't know how he's still ahead of Aces, but he's going to have to come in surely now as he goes through. Yeah, look at that. He's got no grip at all. No turning through those usually flat out corners. And here comes Aces. Lawrence has got to come in for a new front wing as Robsu's now out of the race. And that is another VSC. Still no safety cars somehow in this Grand Prix. We've had 3 laps and 4 retirements. I mean, at this rate, this is going to be 1 or 2 people finishing. I mean, this is absolutely treacherous out here. Robsu out the race. I don't know what he did, but before he had the chance to serve that drive-through, he has binned it. As Lawrence and Jacko both come in. Lawrence for a new front wing. Jacko's going to get held up behind his teammate here. I think he's going on to the inters. That wet tyre gamble has not paid off. And intermediate tyres for the Scottish driver. We've got 7 drivers left on lap 4 of this Grand Prix. Still no safety car, by the way, and it's Aces who leads the race with LB in second. But I mean, by the looks of it at the moment, the lead is a poisoned chalice. You don't want the lead of the race. We had 2 race leaders crash out at the same corner, 1 race leader come in for a new front wing under a VSC, and now Aces is leading the way, and suddenly it doesn't look like the position you want to be in anymore. As everyone trundles round under this VSC. I mean, this is going to be absolute chaos. I cannot possibly predict any position at all at this stage. Look, I mean, these gaps, they don't matter. It doesn't matter. When you've got people binning it into the wall at any time, it does not matter where anyone is on track right now. But it is Aces who leads the way from LB, who desperately wants to win this Grand Prix. He said he had a Silverstone setup on. I'm struggling to believe him, but we'll see as he goes on. Maybe just playing classic LB attempted mind games. As they both come through the final sector now. LB right behind that Haas, but of course no DRS in these conditions. As it's a double podium for Haas right now. 1 and 3 they sit. Scott, one of the only ones not to bin it at some point in this race, along with those top 2. And but Lawrence, Jacko, Sumo and RJ all have had a moment at some point. Although Sumo, I don't think has. He's just got a drive. He just got a drive through, which put him a long way behind. But he's 5.5 seconds down on Jacko. 6 seconds. He must have made a big mistake there. As he comes through, are we finally going to get a green flag lap of racing? I think we may do. Louis in the chat saying more or less than half the grid crossing the line. Well, I mean, it's already one more, and then we'll have less than half the grid. And we're only on lap 5. Lawrence is in again for a new front wing by the looks of it. I can't think of any other reason he would come in for the pits at this stage. Yeah, it's a new front wing for the championship leader. He's having a horrible time. It's really, really tough, this circuit, at the best of times. But in these conditions, with no racing line, absolute nightmare. It really is. So I think it might be a damage limitation time for Lawrence today. But, I mean, who knows? A safety car instantly changes everything. Who knows what's going to happen here? Robsu annoyed at himself in the chat, and well, it could be big for the constructors. LB is in P2 right now, but both Williams are still in the race. So there's only a few points between those two teams. And it is Aces who leads the way again. Lawrence again overdoes the braking into turn 3. I really hope that hasn't given him rear wing damage. That was a bit of contact with that wall. I think he'll be fine, but the championship leader having a horrible time here at this circuit in these conditions. I wonder if it's going to dry out. The rain has definitely gotten a lot lighter since the start of this Grand Prix, so we'll have to see. But Lawrence at the moment just going to make sure he stays in this race, because a DNF he cannot afford at this stage. He's 18 points ahead of LB in this Drivers' Championship battle. He can't afford to DNF and lose that lead. Aces with the fastest lap, which is 2 minutes 0.8, and that just shows you how bad the conditions are out there. 20 seconds, some 20 seconds slower than the qualifying times. So even on the inters, it's still really tough to drive at the moment. As Aces still leads by about a second. Jackalacko with a 1:59.2. So the first lap of the race into the 1 minute range, which is quite funny really on lap 6 of 26. But we go through. This is pretty much the only major battle on track, and it's for P1. So lucky for us, as the championship challenger LB chases down Aces. He knows how important those extra 4 points are going to be for winning this race. So he's just got Aces in his sights, who's doing a fantastic job, by the way. No racing line on that Haas. And yet, here he is leading the way and looking pretty comfortable from what I've seen so far. LB certainly a lot less comfortable than him through that castle section, but allegedly he's got a Silverstone setup on, so that may explain that. But through sector 2 they go, down towards the end of that sector, and LB still no closer to making a move on Aces. We're going to see a bit of wing difference between the two. Let's see what it's like. So they're coming through. Once they get through these couple of corners, we're going to watch that gap. It's 1.7 on the exit, 1.75 as Sumo looks like he's been in the castle section, and we finally got a safety car, and it's not even for a car getting being out of the session. It's for Sumo breaking his front wing. He's done a Leclerc into the castle section as he comes through with no front wing. He's still in the race, so he'll be happy about that. But we do have a safety car. It's going to bring Lawrence straight back into this Grand Prix. Aces just about gets ahead of the safety car before it comes out the pits. That was very, very, very close. He's going to be lucky to not get disqualified there. But LB into the pits for fresh intermediates. Scott in as well. Aces decides to stay out. Jackalacko also in for those fresh tyres, and I'm sure RJ and Sumo are going to be in too. Lawrence, we'll have to see. He's 3.5 seconds down, so he does stand to gain a position if the Mercedes of Sumo does pit here, and he's going to have to, of course. He's got no front wing, so If Lawrence doesn't pit, he might even gain the position anyway due to the extra time Sumo's got to take repairing his front wing. So we're about to find out. Is he going to come into the pits? No, he's going to stay out on those intermediates and gain a couple of positions on both Mercedes up to P5. Apologies for the barking. As Lawrence heads into turn 1, back into the top 5. And it's a lifeline for the championship leader in this crazy, crazy race so far. Aces comes around, he's going to get the opportunity to pit here. Because he just about beat the safety car out, I think if he pits he will still come out ahead of LB. It will be a little bit close because of the delta, but we'll have to find out as he comes around the last couple of corners. If I were him, I would definitely pit at this stage. He'll have 1 lap fresher tyres as well than the cars behind him. So very, very fortunate to beat the safety car out of the pit lane there. As, where is the safety car sitting? Oh, it's on the right-hand side of the track there, down towards turn 7, I believe that is. So, oh, that's a nice camera angle. I like that one. I wish there were more of those camera angles in the game, or they displayed more often, I should say. Aces into the pits for fresh tyres as predicted. I do wonder if it's going to go dry at any point in this Grand Prix. At the moment it's still pretty greasy, it's still raining and there's still spray, so they can't consider the slicks at this point in time. But maybe later. We had an interesting race in Tier 1 on Friday last week around Baku, where it rained towards the end and then it stopped raining. But the track was greasy for 4, 5, 6 laps after it had already stopped raining. And it just wasn't good enough for slicks at any point, despite it being no rain falling for several laps. So they've got to keep that in mind. I know Jacko will have that in mind because he raced in Tier 1 on Friday, and I think Lawrence did as well, but I don't know if he made it that far into the race to have that experience. So we'll find out what they do. Aces has come out ahead of LB, by the way, and he's going to catch up to the safety car now, and we're going to get a few laps of serenity as the drivers just trundle around, make sure they don't DNF. There's still some 18 laps left to go in this race. We've only had 7 or 7.5 of them. So, and there's only 7 drivers left. So we'll see how many drivers can finish this horrible, horrible Grand Prix. Sumo going very deep into turn 1. But just about manages to keep it out the wall. Louis in the chat saying, I'm on YouTube. There we go. In-game, Zandvoort has a beautiful camera angle around turn 12. High up and you can see the cars cut through the apex. Turn 12, I'm trying to figure out which corner that is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Ah, that one. Yeah. Yeah, I think I know the one you mean. That camera angle you mean. It's very, very nice. And Jeddah has a brilliant camera angle as well, going down towards the hairpin, all the way through Sector 3. It's the helicopter shot. It's a lovely, lovely camera angle. So I wish there was more of that in the game, or I wish you could switch between them, because you can only switch between dynamic camera view, which is what we're on right now, or the onboard camera view, which is this one, and that's it, nothing else. Dynamic just changes for you based on where you are, but I wish we could have a bit more agency with that, but Codemasters be Codemastering. So I don't think we're going to get a feature like that anytime soon. But who knows? Maybe they'll do it. Maybe they'll recognise that F1 Esports has terrible camera angles as well, and they'll think, oh, we don't want that to be broadcast all around the world. We want them to have better options for those camera angles, so we're going to have to do it. That's the only way I think that they'll do it. But oh well, we'll see. Since I think the safety car might be out for another couple of laps yet, let's do a quick helmet review on the drivers that are still in the race. Aces has a default helmet, and he gets 0 for that. LB, a nice sort of shiny burgundy with black towards the back of the helmet. I do like that one. Pretty nice helmet on LB there, the two-time Tier 2 champion. I'll give him a 7 for that one. Maybe a 6 or a 7? 6.5. 7. No, 7. Let's go with 7. Scott. Oh, very striking colour with the black stripe going down the middle. I do like that. I'll give that a 7 as well. Maybe a 7.5 actually, because of the choice of colour. It's very, very nice, very striking. Works well with the Haas. Jack Alaco. He's got the same helmet type as Aces, but he's edited the colours a bit, which he gets plus points for. Got an orange instead of the default, but I'll give him a 5.5, maybe a 6 for that. Lawrence, oh look at that, light teal with the red background. I'm not sure about the colour combo, but it's certainly very striking. I'll give him a 6.5 for that one. RJ with the pink and the, well, 2 different types of pink, and then the silver as well, highlights. I do like that. I'll give that an 8. That's a very original helmet for RJ. And Sumo, even more original. But I can't remember if that... Oh, as he gets a big slide under the safety car and breaks his front wing. And he's going to have to come in again, which might cause the safety car to stay out one more lap, or it could leave Sumo behind. So he's got to get a move on, just in case that happens. But I'll give his helmet. I mean, if it's like a Daniel Ricciardo helmet, or like something that he hasn't customized himself, then I can only give it a 1. But if he's customized that himself, then it's a 9.5. That's a very cool helmet. Maybe 9.5, just because the pink and yellow's a bit wild. But I think he's edited that shade since I said that exact comment before. So I think he deserves that 9.5 after all. But, out the pits he comes, but the safety car is a whole sector ahead of him. He's got a long way to catch up. I wonder if it'll come in without him, because I don't think he's going to be able to catch up to it this lap. So he's got to push on. He can't push it too hard, obviously, because he'll end up in the wall, but he's got to make sure he catches up to this red Mercedes at the front. Just in case it decides to come in without him. It has been out 3 laps now, I think. As everyone follows in behind. The Ace is leading the way still. Looking for a second Grand Prix win in a row after a brilliant win over MCL last week in China. His first race win in APPF1 in any division for a very long time, and it is going to leave Sumo behind. That's heartbreaking for my former commentary partner. At least he'll have a good while to race around and practice on his own, but he's going to be so annoyed about that it hasn't let him back into the fight. But I think he's really only got himself to blame, unfortunately, because of the self-bin at the end of Sector 2. But here comes Aces as he leads the pack. When is he going to punch it? It is still raining out there, So no sign of the slicks at this stage. I do wonder if we'll have them before the end, but at the moment, still very much intermediate weather. Aces have gone very, very early here. You usually see people go late at this circuit after safety car restart, but he's gone for it and he's made it work. He's got low enough wings to keep LB at bay. Scott brakes very, very early to not get involved there, as Aces goes a bit deep into turn one, but keeps it together, and he still leads this Grand Prix as LB looks briefly to the inside, but doesn't try anything into turn two, as Aces a bit of a snap on the exit, and this could invite LB in here. He's pulled into the slipstream, 2.5 tenths, 2 tenths. He's looking for the move. Is the championship challenger on the race leader, but just backs out at the last moment, but causes Aces to go wide. He's played absolute mind games with Aces there. He looked to the inside. Aces braked late to cover him off and went straight into the wall from the lead of this race. He's now the 4th race leader to bin it with no pressure. Well, not with no pressure, but he's the 4th person to bin it from the race lead so far this Grand Prix, and we're only 11 laps in. LB is in dreamland. He leads the way. His championship rivals down in P4, and he could gain a ton of points here. He's 18 behind before this race. There's only one to go after this in Brazil. LB stands to gain 20, 16, 14, 12. He stands to gain 8 points on his championship rival, bringing the gap down to 10 with just one race to go. It would still be very much advantage Lawrence, but it would give LB much more of a hope of snatching the championship away from Lawrence, who's been runner-up I don't even know how many times in Tier 2 since joining 5 or 6 seasons ago. But through he goes in Sector 3. He's losing time to his teammate Jacko, who is charging after Scott and LB right now. The Scottish driver very much at home here in Baku. He has a brilliant record at this circuit in every division he races in APPF1. And he's coming through now, trying to chase down Scott for P2 as Aces comes into the pits to repair that broken front wing. Disaster for the British driver who's looking to make it 2 race wins in a row. Anything can still happen. It is far from over, but it's slick tyres. It's slick tyres and a new front wing for Aces. He thinks it's time for the slicks. I beg to differ. It's still raining. There's still spray out there. Sumo's been promoted to 6th as a result. But look at this. This is one hell of a gamble from Aces. We've got to ride on board. There's no major battles happening at the front. So let's just see how he fares through the first few corners on these medium tyres. Is this going to be the call of the century from Aces, or a terrible mistake that's going to end in another safety car? We're about to find out. He's coming into turn 3. Brakes very, very early and very, very slowly, but keeps it on circuit, and that's what matters. Not locking up. Coming through turn 4 just about okay. It's tight. It's really tough for him. But here he comes through the next part of the circuit. He has locked up this time, but he hasn't met the same fate as the Aston Martins at that corner. He's managed to keep it out the wall. Through Castle, he's still just about okay. So, but he's very, very slow. He's lost 2 seconds to Sumo already. So, well, it's going to be a tricky time for Aces these next few laps, but he is now on the slicks. He can't really backtrack. If he does, it will cost him another 30 seconds. As now Lawrence and RJ look to swap positions. RJ with the very low wings on that straight, looking to get past the championship leader, and he has done, up to P4 for the Mercedes drivers. For the Mercedes driver, and after he's had a horrible season in Tier 1 this season, and it hasn't been great in Tier 2 for him either, with no racing line. He's looking for a good result here in Baku. Lawrence right on his tail, but Not able to make a move into turn 3, maybe into turn 4, though, around the outside for the Williams driver. Can he get it done? No, he can't, but RJ's made the same mistake, and just as I say it, I've cursed him. I'm so sorry, RJ. I'm so sorry. Oh, no. Just as I say it, he's fallen victim to the same thing that Aces did a few laps ago, but it's cost him his whole race. It only cost Aces a front wing. But RJ is out of this Grand Prix. 6 drivers left. We're only halfway through. So we'll see how many drivers are left at the end. But RJ, I am devastated for him. He was driving so well there. DRS now enabled, though. And the DRS is going to be a huge help to Jack Alaco here in his chase after Scott. Is he within a second? We're going to find out as they come through the last actual corner. Well, in the dry conditions, but these two are also corners in the wet. As they come through, it's 1.034. It's so close between the two, but he's just about in DRS range as they hit the detection point. And that rear wing is going to open on that Williams. Is he going to gain a big amount of time? No, he's not. He's going to peel into the pits along with Scott, but I think it's too early. I know it says they've enabled DRS, but I just don't think the slicks are good at this point. It's still too greasy out there by my racing instinct. Just looking at the onboards, it still looks a bit too greasy. There's still spray out there. It's a big gamble. Scott's gone into the hards. Jacko on the mediums. I think the better choice has been made by Jacko there. The mediums will make it, but they will struggle towards the end of their life. As Sumo also comes in for the same set of tyres as his F2 teammate. As they go down towards turn 3, Jacko with the DRS, but unable to make a move into that corner. Scott a bit deep on the entry, though, and this could invite Jacko up the inside into turn 4. He's gone for it. He's gone for it. He's made a send. Scott leaves in the room, but Jacko can't quite get the power down on the exit, and he's desperate to get past this Haas. He knows he's got a shot at the race win here. Does Jacko, and look at this. It's switch back on the exit of turn 6. What a move from Jacko as Sumo's binned it further back on those medium tyres. And Jacko up into P3, and it's P2 net, but it could be P1 if these slicks really are faster now. LB and Lawrence could have made the wrong decision. The two championship protagonists are in P1 and 2 right now, but it's not going to last as Aces gets his way past Sumo now, who's got no front left end plate, so he's going to have to limp back to the pits again for another fresh set of slicks. But LB surely into the pits now for slick tyres. Yeah, keeping to the left-hand side of the circuit, and into the pits he goes for the slick tyres. But where's he going to come out? Is it going to be behind Jacko? That's the question. Lawrence as well has got to come in. Now it definitely looks dry as the Williams driver comes in for a set of slicks. Surely the mediums as well. LB, yeah, mediums for him. I would have guessed mediums for Lawrence as well. Stop talking about Mercedes. I'm sorry. It's all my fault. It's all my fault. Oh dear. Lawrence in for a new front wing and some hard tyres. He doesn't think the mediums will make it. That's an interesting call from the championship leader, but he'll be hoping it gains him a bit of time and position at the end. Out the pits he comes, and he's just ahead of Aces. That's huge. Staying in P4. LB's come out well ahead of Jacko. But I know just how good this man is at this circuit. He loves the streets of Azerbaijan. Does Jack Alaco, and he's going to be charging after that Alfa Romeo driver to snatch the win away. But LB's got a lot more to lose. A race win at this stage would be huge for him. Even if Lawrence finishes P4, it's still a big haul of points for LB before the championship finale next week. And the two Williams, by the way, doing very well for the constructors as well. 2 and 4. LB is winning the race, but Williams will still take a decent lead into Brazil if it ends as it stands. 11.5 laps left to go in this race. Ace is right behind Lawrence now. He's caught up to the back of this Williams. who's on those hard tyres, really struggling in this early stage of the stint. And here comes the Haas driver. The ones with no line, of course, have got to get back used to the dry conditions, as the ones racing with the racing line can just send it. No recovery time needed for them, as here comes Aces through the final real corner now in these dry conditions, and down through the last two. Jakalaka with the fastest lap, proving that he's got the pace to catch up to LB. Perhaps, but losing a lot of time through turn one there, I noticed. But Aces, I don't think he got the DRS. He didn't. It was very, very close, but not quite. As he continues his push to try and recover from that disastrous mistake that he made from the lead of the race. But a big slide out of turn one could have cost him DRS down towards turn three. I think it has done by only a few hundredths of a second, but that's all it takes. And we're going to have to keep an eye on that battle as it develops. Jakalako now losing time to LB at a rate of knots. LB really pushing on in that Alfa Romeo. He wants to win this race. He wants to get himself back in this championship fight just in time for the last race of the season. As we've got Lawrence. Lawrence into the wall, is he? Has he lost his front wing? No, he's still got his front wing intact. He's just gone into the escape road. Very, very lucky there was an escape road there, but he is really, really having a bad time at this circuit today. Down to P5, and he stands to lose 9 points. And if LB gets the fastest lap here, which I think he may well easily do, yeah, 6.5 tenths up. So if LB manages to get fastest lap as well, he is going to be only 8 points behind the championship leader going into the last race of the season, and that's the difference between P1 and P4. And since he would win on countback, he is going to be very much back in this championship fight if all ends like it is. There is the fastest lap that I predicted, and Jacko not too far behind, only lost half a second in the end. I think he's got much lower wings than LB. So if there is a late safety car, LB could be in trouble based on that. But Jacko seemingly struggling a lot more through the corners than LB is. Scott in a very, very respectable P3 right now as well. Jacko and Scott both driven excellently so far in this Grand Prix. And LB as well, it has to be said, he's driven very, very well. Especially if it is true, if he's got a Silverstone setup on, then this is simply phenomenal. But I hazard to think that he's just playing with his food, as it were. And he is actually running a Baku setup. But Lawrence now 7.5 seconds behind Aces. He is going to be hoping that someone bins it and brings out a safety car close to the end to give him the best shot at losing as few points as possible to his championship rival. But as it stands, down in P5, and well, his miserable record at this circuit continues. He is still top 5, but that is out of 11 drivers when 5 of them have DNF'd. So I mean, he's at least done well to remain in the race. With all the mistakes he's made so far, he is at least still driving, and that's what he needs to do. LB setting another fastest lap at the front. He is flying now in that Alfa Romeo, and it doesn't look like anyone's got what it takes to catch him. As Lawrence chases down Aces, 7.2 seconds. He's going to need a lot more in the tank in these last 9 laps, but I think he's just going to be more interested in finishing this race. Although the only thing I think is that 8 points is quite a vulnerable lead when you don't have the countback advantage, because like I say, that's the difference between P1 and P4. So I can easily see a Brazil race next week where LB wins and Lawrence comes P4. Easily see that happening. So I'd say 8 points is pretty dangerous, and he is going to want that extra point just for security so he can finish P4 next week and not have to worry. But it is going to be a tricky one for him as he nearly goes into the wall there at turn 4. He's really got to be careful not to bin it. If he bins it now, he's going to lose an 18-point championship lead and going to be 3 points behind LB going into Brazil, and that is a nightmare scenario. That's the last thing he wants. So he's just got to keep it on the circuit. He's losing time to aces, so there's no point in pushing at this stage. Just keep it on the track, Lawrence. That would be my advice for 9 more laps. Or 8.5, I should say, as I think LB's going to set another fastest lap across the line here. Nope, not quite. 100th down on his previous best, but still gaining time on Jackalacco and Scott. Let's have a look at fastest laps. So 45.4 for LB, a 45.5 for Jackalacco, so it's very close between the two of them. Scott and Aces in the 47s, with Lawrence, Aces in the 46s, 46.7 for him on that last attempt. So he is catching Scott, actually. He's only a corner behind him. So one mistake from Scott and he could lose that podium that he's worked hard for in this Grand Prix. But I think Aces would deserve one equally as much, despite his error earlier on. Lawrence with a 46.9 and Sumo also with a 46.9. He's had great pace today, Sumo. He really has. Just a few too many mistakes, which I think is the story of his season so far. So hopefully he can start cutting out those mistakes for next week and start being next season and start being competitive again. Because I'd love to see Sumo be competitive in Tier 2. If he wants to commentate, that is fine with me as well. If he wants to give it a rest and commentate instead, no problem at all, mate. But if he wants to keep racing, would love to see him be competitive again next season, because he does have the pace to do it. He's just got to cut out the mistakes with that brand new wheel of his, and he'll be back in the fray. So regrettably, not a lot happening on track at the moment. We've got 7 laps to go in the race, but 5 seconds between the top 2, then 8 seconds to Scott, 13 seconds to Aces, another 8 to Lawrence, and then 25 seconds down to Sumo. Everyone in their own little world at the moment, which I don't think anyone's going to be complaining too much about, put it that way. It's certainly makes it difficult to keep you guys entertained in the commentary box, but I will try my best. LB coming through 5.5 seconds ahead of Jacko. He's got the fastest lap as well. It's only by a 10th, but he does have it. But I think Sumo has the pace. If he pits onto the softs at the end, he has the pace to take that fastest lap from LB. And that could be really crucial. If LB doesn't get that extra point, then he loses that 1st to 4th margin for next week that he needs. And I think that's quite an important fastest lap point that he's currently got to his name. So we'll see if he keeps it, or if Sumo decides enough is enough, I'm going for it in these last couple laps. And I think he may well do. He's 25 seconds behind. He hasn't got much else to fight for unless the safety car comes out. And everyone looks like they're just desperately trying to keep it on the track as opposed to pushing hard at the moment. So Lawrence as well could go for it. He's 24 seconds ahead of Sumo, so he could pit and come out ahead of him. But what he's going to be worrying about is not just coming out behind Sumo, which won't happen, by the way. The gap's too big. You only lose about 18 seconds or so, I think. But it's going to be, if he makes a mistake on that fastest lap attempt, he loses the position to Sumo. So that's going to be his worry with going for that at the end. But the extra point is going to be so crucial. It's a 2-point swing between him and LB, which would be a big difference with the margins they're currently on. at this stage. So interesting call for Lawrence. He's really got to consider it. I don't know how much information he's going to be getting. I don't know if he's in a party with Jacko or anyone else, but he will surely know that LB's in the lead. And he'll definitely know that LB has the fastest lap as well, because he saw it flash on the screen. So I don't know if he's going to be doing the maths in his head. I think he's going to be too concentrated on what's going on to do the maths in his head. He might be listening in as well, who knows. Yeah, pitting last lap for fast is also very cool. Got to factor that in. That's true. That is true. Oh no, no, Lawrence, he's done exactly what he couldn't afford to do. He's binned it. He's out of the Grand Prix. He's Leclerc, and just LB does the fastest lap as well, just to rub it in. And Lawrence's awful record at Baku continues. He is going to be so many points behind. He's going to be 3 points behind LB now going into Brazil. It looks like Jacko's pitting for the fastest lap though to help his teammate in the Drivers' Championship battle. We've got team orders coming out. Lawrence has DNF'd and told Jacko, go on the softs, get me the fastest lap. It doesn't matter if you don't catch Scott for P2. He just doesn't want LB to have that fastest lap. But LB could pit for it. He's got the gap. He's 18 seconds clear of Scott. So we could be into a fastest lap duel between LB and Jacko here. That extra point could prove very, very important. As it stands, LB is going to gain 21 points on his championship rival, and he's going to be 3 points ahead going into the last race of the season. What a turn up for the books this is. Sumo in as well for the fastest lap. We've got 5 drivers left, and 2 of them going for the fastest lap. Is LB going to go for it as well? It remains to be seen. He would come out ahead of LB. Lawrence is devastated in the chat, and I do not blame him one bit. Jacko, he has got a job to do. He's got to secure that fastest lap from LB. Brazil is going to be a very, very important race. LB stays out. He's not going for it at this stage. There's still another opportunity. He's got 2 more laps if he wants to go for it to pit for that fastest lap. He can pit at the end of lap 24, but lap 25 is too late, so he's got to make the decision before then. Here comes the Scottish driver though, through the final straight and onto his attempt at the fastest lap. Here he goes. I'm going to put telemetry on the screen. It doesn't really matter, no one's close to each other. Into turn 1 comes Jacko, and through down towards turn 2 now. Brakes at the designated brake marker board, and the overtake is on. He's using the ERS. He's definitely going for that fastest lap, so we'll ride on board with the Scottish driver as he flies through sector 1 down towards turn 3. Very nicely on the power for the Scotsman. He loves this circuit. He's only 5 seconds behind Scott as well. He can definitely catch him before the end here, I think, as he goes down towards the last part of sector 1. It's purple in the first sector for Jackalacco. 4.6 seconds to Scott. Maybe he might get DRS as well towards the end. Maybe he should have saved this fastest lap attempt for when he was closer to Scott and could get the DRS, but who knows? It's all in the balance at the moment. Sumo's going for it as well. We can't forget about him. He's going to start his fastest lap attempt right about now. LB's coming down towards the end of sector 3. This is the second to last chance he's got to go for fastest lap. He's going for it. He's into the pit lane. LB coming in for the fastest lap attempt. He's going for the softs. He knows how important this extra point could be at this stage in the season. Jacko coming down through the last sector. LB's going to come out ahead of Scott as well. So there's no danger to him of losing that P1. He's just got to make sure he doesn't make a mistake while going for the fastest lap. Jacko using all the ERS he can down towards the line. What's the fastest lap going to be? It is a 44.3 to beat. What can Sumo do? He's in Sector 1 at the moment. He's 7.5 tenths up on his previous best, so he could beat it as well. Any of these three drivers could get that fastest lap. Aces could come in for it as well, but he's chosen not to on this lap. He's got one more lap to decide if he wants to go for it or not. He's 10 seconds behind, but he's a minute ahead of Sumo, so he could go for it if he wanted to. We could have four drivers fighting for the fastest lap here, because I know Scott's not going to go for it unless Jacko passes him very quickly. But I think he's going to be more interested in trying to keep Jacko behind, but that's going to be quite the task, as LB is in P1 as he exits. He wants that extra point. He wants to be 3 points ahead, not 2. It could make all the difference. We have no idea what's going to happen in Brazil. Lawrence is going to be absolutely devastated with himself, in disbelief that he's done that. So close from the end. He just needed to survive another 3 or 4 laps and he would be classified no problem, and he'd still have a huge championship lead as Sumo beats Jacko's fastest lap of 43.9 for my former commentary partner, as he takes the fastest lap away from Jacko, who's now going to have DRS on Scott as they go down towards the line. Let's have a look at the fastest lap of 43.9 compared to Jacko's 44.3. It's not even close. He's beaten him by 4 tenths. That's a big lap from Sumo. But here comes Jacko now on the back of Scott. He's got DRS enabled. He's got the overtake as well. He goes to the inside of the Haas driver as they go down towards turn 1, but they're still side by side as they head into the corner. Jacko brakes far too late. He's gone very deep. He's just about avoided the wall, but Scott keeps the place for now, and he's got to hold on to it for another 2 laps in this Grand Prix. Aces is coming for the fastest lap as well. We've got 4 out of 5 drivers going for the fastest lap at this late stage as LB comes through Sector 1. He wants to get that extra point. It's going to be so crucial to see who can get this. LB 7.5 tenths up on his previous best in Sector 1. He needs 1.3 seconds, or 1.2 seconds, sorry, to secure the fastest lap, and Sector 2 is going to be where he gains the most time on these soft tyres, so he's got the best chance of anyone to take it away from Sumo right now. The question is, can anyone else take it off him? I think Aces has got a great shot at it as well, but he's only going to get 1 shot. That's the difference. He's only going to have the final lap to go for it. Here comes Jacko on the back of Scott. He's going to go for it again. He's right behind this Haas as they head into the last couple of corners. Brakes very early, doesn't want to take him out. That would be quite a different level of disaster as the Scottish driver follows the Haas through the final few corners. And down towards turn 1 they go now. Jacko right behind him. Going to have the DRS. Surely there's nothing Scott's going to be able to do here. We're coming on to the final lap of this Grand Prix. LB sets a 42.5. There's your time to beat, Aces versus Kings. Get with it. And get on it. That's the goal for him. Look at the low wings that Scott has, though, down towards turn 1. There's nothing Jack can do to pull ahead before the corner, but he gets him this time, brakes just in time to get round the corner, and he is ahead of the Haas as Scott gets a big slide on the exit of turn 2 and hits the wall. He's too far behind as a result to get Jacko back, and I think that's going to be P2 secure for the Williams driver, who tried to help out his teammate and get that fastest lap, but it wasn't enough to compete with LB, who's just kicked into another gear at this late stage. But Aces is the last one who can take it. Sumo, I don't think he's going to have the tyres or the ERS. Scott's not on the right tyres. Jacko's also not got the right tyres or ERS. So it's all going to be about whether whether Aces can take it off him in these closing stages. The last lap of this Grand Prix, Sumo goes onto it now as well, but LB coming through the last few corners of Sector 2. It's a dream scenario for the 2-time Tier 2 champion as he looks to make it 3. Lawrence, the main championship rival and championship leader before today, has binned it into the wall with 5 or 6 laps to go, and LB has taken full advantage. Here comes the Alfa Romeo down towards the line. A bit of celebration from him as well. He is going to be delighted. Lawrence devastated, but it's not over yet. LB wins the Azerbaijan Grand Prix and takes the championship lead with 1 race to go. Jack Alacco finishes in P2. A brilliant drive from the Scotsman as well. Scott comes home for another podium in this season. That's a great drive for him. All of these 5 drivers, brilliant drives from all of them, it has to be said. They all deserve the points that they're going to get from this one. Just for finishing this race in these horrible, horrible conditions. Aces is going to push all the way to the line. I don't think it's going to be enough to beat the fastest lap. He's missed out by 0.4 of a second. So he's going to be P4. And Sumo comes round Sector 2. And he is going to finish the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Which he will be delighted about, despite the mistakes, despite everything. He's going to finish P5 in this race. What a topsy-turvy Grand Prix, but I expected nothing else from Baku, especially with the wet weather we had at the start. Sumo comes across the line to finish P5 and end off this crazy, crazy race. Sumo W, says Louis in the chat. Couldn't agree more. So it's LB who wins the Azerbaijan Grand Prix with the fastest lap of the race and doesn't just close the gap, takes the championship lead by 3 points going into Brazil. What a turnaround. Jack Alacco in P2 and Scott rounds out the podium with Aces in P4 after his mistake earlier on. Sumo finishes the race in 5th place, and it's a great drive from all 5 of these to get to the end, I've got to say. But Lawrence is despondent with DNFing from this one. It says he has points. It's given him points, so I'm going to have to review that and see if he got classified, but I don't think he was close enough to be classified. RJ, Robsu, Palang, Mr. J-Man and Alex all not finishing this Grand Prix. And stick around for interviews. That's why I've blue screened you, just joining the party. Jack Alacco into the party. We'll just wait for LB and Scott. There's Scott.
What up?
And
so that's LB champion then, because Lawrence can't make it.
All right. We'll get Aces and Sumo in as well. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be a bit unfair.
I think it would be cruel to get Lawrence in, do you not think?
Yeah, it would be. He's just lost his championship.
Alright, well, he's joined anyway. But, I mean, we're all in. There's 6 of you here, so I'm not going to come to each of you one by one. Just the podium sitters, and then the rest, I'll just get some comments from you guys. So, well, LB, I mean, you came into this Grand Prix knowing that Lawrence has a poor record around here, but I don't think... well, maybe you would have thought that this would happen, but I think even for you, this is quite the turnaround. LB?
Right, yeah, sorry.
There we go.
Look, I sat here on a party chat after a previous interview, and I said, I'll win the championship by Lawrence making a mistake. We've come here after Baku, after we decided to put it in the castle section. I told you, of course it was going to happen, and yeah, it was a lovely thing to come up on my screen saying that he retired from the session.
Well, I mean, with Lawrence saying that he can't make next week, it looks like you've already got the championship wrapped up. But
don't be believing now. Of course he's turning up next week. Don't feel their mind games.
Well, we'll see. But, I mean, you've now taken a 3-point lead in the championship, despite being 18 behind before today. What are you thinking about Brazil? Is it a track that you tend to enjoy, or is it going to be fireworks?
I don't mind the track, however, in reality, no offence to Robsu, but I don't think he's been in a position where he's been fortunate enough to sort of be at the front to help out in any sort of battles against Lawrence, whereas you've got obviously Jack Alacco, who is flying and always up the front, so I've got to go against Lawrence, Jack Alacco, probably MCL as well. I don't think he enjoys my company too much, but yeah, I think it's going to be a 3v1. If it can be pulled off, then fantastic, but I'm not holding any hope.
Well, we shall see. And it's definitely going to be an interesting championship finale. Not quite on the level of last season, but I think we won't get a season like that for a long, long time. So I think we'll have to make do with an LB versus Lawrence showdown, which is still going to be extremely exciting. So good luck for it, LB, and congratulations today.
Thank you very much.
So moving on to Jack Alacco, who's finished P2 today with another great performance at Baku. How did you see that race, Jack?
I don't know, to be honest. Took a gamble on the wets at the start, which didn't pay off. Tried to pit under one of the 4 VSCs that we had in the first 4 laps, I think. But yeah, just, I don't know, kept it on track and got a second.
Yeah, well, I mean, with all the fastest lap games at the end, I think you were trying to get it for Lawrence, and LB was trying to get it for the championship implications, and everyone else was just trying to take it for the hell of it. So what did you think? When you set your fastest lap, did you think it was a good lap, or did you think, nah, that's going to get beaten?
Oh no, it was a rubbish lap. It was a horrible lap. I knew LB was going to smash it.
Well, nonetheless, you put in the effort for the team, and I'm sure Lawrence appreciates it, but we'll come to him later. But, I mean, the other thing I wanted to say, that battle with Scott at the end, obviously into turn 1, where you just disappeared off the screen briefly. I mean, did you just miss the brake marker board just looking at Scott, or was it a bit more complicated than that?
Forgot to turn the magic off, that's what it was.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah, no, I broke a bit late, but I got on round 2.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Scott's very low wings didn't make it easy for you, but
No.
But still, you got the job done, so congrats on your P2.
Thank you.
And down to Scott, who finishes P3 today. I think all 5 of you who finished this race, well done. But particularly the podium sitters. And Scott, you were one of them today. I think one of the only drivers not to bin it in the wall at some point this Grand Prix.
I don't know how. I mean, I think I did bin it at one point.
Oh, you did? Okay.
It was like a half spin, and I managed to catch it. So, but I did another one as well later on. So yeah, I spun it twice, but they were like half spins and lost a few seconds. But yeah.
Oh well.
I didn't feel comfortable. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially in the wet. But I mean, still a pretty pleasant drive towards the end of the race, especially when it got dry. I just wanted to ask you with regard to when it dried up. Did you just as soon as DRS Enable came on the screen, was that the kicker? That was when you got to come in, or were you thinking already it was starting to get time for slicks?
Well, Aces went in on put the dries on a couple of laps before myself, so I was kind of asking him how would he feel it, and he said, "Oh, they're still a bit too slippy." And I had no intention of coming in, and then the DRS was enabled. I thought, well, LB stayed out, and I weren't keeping up with them, so maybe I can't remember how far ahead he was. Maybe I don't know. I'm not sure if it was less than 10 seconds. I thought I might be able to pick it, like get him in, but no. And they felt all right when I come out, and I noticed everyone went on mediums.
Yeah.
I thought, well, they're going to have to stop again, really, or it'll be a long old slug to the finish, trying to get them. I think it was 16 laps out of the mediums, which I don't think is really that doable. But I think there was only Lawrence who else was on the hard tyre.
Yeah.
And then obviously Jacko was behind me, and then he was way quicker than me. I mean, the battle at the end, it was. I knew he would come in, so I banked a shed load of VRS. And, as soon as he came up behind me, and pulled out, I put it on, and that were it. I thought, right, I'll just make it a bit difficult. And then he get it to straight line turn one. I thought, wait up, I'm in here. Here we go. And then he kind of recovered, and I noticed he was only like 1.5 seconds behind me. I was like, yeah, he's gonna get me. I tried it again on the next lap, and but yeah, I think he learnt his lesson. But no, it was a nice little. It's the most I could do. There were no point me training my ERS when he were catching me, because he was always going to catch me. So I thought I'll just use it when he's outside of me, just to try and piss him off a bit, to be honest.
Well, it worked for one lap.
Yeah, at least one lap. But that was the wet start. I don't know what it is about wet races. I just cannot seem to. I can't fathom the input of what needs to be inputted in terms of braking, acceleration. I can't. I'm kind of getting the hang of it with a dry track, but put the rain into the mix, and I'm just absolutely useless. And then everyone pitted, and then Jacko and LB they went off, and it's like a nice Sunday drive, to be honest, around the streets of Baku, and yeah. So
I think it is particularly hard around this track in the wet as well, because I found that on Friday as well. I was just nowhere. So
yeah, I felt more comfortable on Friday than on Sunday.
Yeah,
I changed my setup for this race. Lower wings.
Yeah.
Not checking the weather in qualifying, and then I was just coming out the pits, and Aces went, "Oh, it's going to rain in the race." I went, "Man, you were joking." And and then it were pouring it down, and I even said to him before the race started, I think it's a bit pointless me racing this, because I can't do it in the weather, in the rain. But then Big Mark said it's going to dry up, so I'll just survive.
Well, and survive you did, and another podium to boot. So well done, Scott. And we'll see how Brazil goes for you.
I'm a bit disappointed, really, in LB and Jacko. It's Baku. I expected a few more mistakes, a bit of wind damage, but it's...
You know me around Baku, I don't make mistakes.
I don't know how my wing was green, to be fair, because I will show you the videos. I hit two people in the rear lightly and hit the that fast right-hander at the end as well on the inside. So I don't know how I even kept the wing, to be fair.
Rob's who absolutely died on that last corner. It was there 1 minute and then just stopped. And, whoa, where's he gone?
That's my teammate.
Yeah.
I'll show you a clip of my view of it. It was scary.
Well, congrats again, Scott, and good luck for the last round next week.
Nice one.
So I'll come to, I think Aces and Sumo, you can both take the floor, I think. Whichever of you wants to speak. But how was that race for you guys? Because I think you don't usually interview the non-podium finishers, but I think when there's only 5 of you finishing, it's only fair.
It was a long race. It was a tough race. I'm still building up my confidence in the wet. I think I struggled over the last week to even just fathom the braking zones around Baku. So getting used to that was tough. But I think I found some rhythm toward the end of the wet stint. Came at the wrong time, of course, after I'd binned it in the wall about 3 times. But you know what? I'll take a P5. Even if it's on the back of everybody crashing out, RJ just having an absolute shitter of a season. It's what I needed after crashing in China, which was arguably my best and worst race of this season. So.
Your quali-lap was alright too, right?
Actually, yeah, I was really happy with my qualifying.
Yeah.
I put everything I had into that.
Yeah, you're definitely getting there. So, keep it up. Your pace is there, it's just the mistakes.
Yeah. Saying that, I had second consistency rating when we were at Japan, which was mad.
Let's not talk about
been it every
mistakes.
lap.
I think I made the biggest one.
Yeah, Aces, talk about that error you made. Was it just the pressure of LB being there, or was it simply an error on your part?
Yeah, I just underestimated the track drying. I thought the track was, I said to Scott, I was like, I'm getting loads of traction here. And I just sent it just a bit too far past the 150 board, and that was it. As soon as I touched the brake, I just knew where I was going.
Yeah.
So, just underestimated the track conditions, if I'm honest with you.
Well, still a recovery to P4, so well done on that. But yeah, I think, do you feel like you had a chance at the win today?
In the wet, I didn't feel too bad, to be fair. I just wish that safety car was just at the wrong time, because I was getting in the rhythm. I was keeping the gap to LB.
Sorry.
And yeah, I was feeling alright. And then that silly mistake into turn 4, I think it was, just after the DRS straight. I just thought, what can I do now? Damage my wing. I just thought I'd gamble and just put the mediums on and see where we go. A few died after me, so it wasn't too bad. On another day, I'll take P4s laughing, but today I feel a bit deflated, if I'm honest with you. I thought the pace was there.
Yeah, I don't think anyone can blame you for that, but still, it's to be one of 5 finishers. You can't be too unhappy when everyone else struggles so much.
No warnings.
No warnings. Nice one.
First race, no warnings.
Few extra points there.
Yeah, and I fucked up the fastest lap at the end as well. Scott's fault. He yapped in my ear as I was coming to that bloody left hand with the chicane bit, and I twatted the wall. Lost me off a second there, you did your bell end. I love you, Scott. You know I do.
Podium. Feels good on this podium. You say what you want.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. All P3, baby. I'm like, fuck you, P3 it right now. I'm on a lap, bro. I mean, top step, holler at me, bro. Holler at me.
And
We should get 5 more people in here more often.
Yeah. And finally, coming to Lawrence. I mean, the phrase "I am stupid" comes to mind, but also, I think it's only 3 points, and I don't know if you're bluffing about being here next week or not. But either way, if you are coming here next week, you've got to feel that it's certainly not over, but it's got to be disappointing to lose such a big lead like that.
Please don't make me talk.
Don't make you talk. Okay, all right.
You joined.
How do you feel, Lawrence? Tell us.
It is what it is. I like overall, I did not deserve to even finish the race anyway. The amount of times I lost my front wing, and ironically, I just made the most stupid mistake when I was just under no pressure. I was just pottering along, just going to be happy to finish the race, and then just turned in too early at the castle and took my front left off, and that's that, unfortunately.
Well,
I'll race next week. I'll give it my all. I will get my elbows out of LB. If I take him out, I'll take him out. Let's just race. What will be, will be.
Indeed. Well, I mean, good luck to the both of you for next week. I'm sure it's going to be fireworks. It always tends to be in Brazil. So good luck, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it ends.
Yeah, well, I think Christmas has come early for LB tonight, so I better enjoy it.
All right, well, thank you all for joining me in the interview room today. Well done to the 5 of you on finishing. It's not often I say that, but I think you deserve it. So well done, because that looked absolutely horrible out there. And
I bet it was just as horrible in the box.
I mean, towards the end, but I mean, I had Jacko and Scott to focus on, so it wasn't too bad. But anyway, everyone pitting for everyone pitting for the fastest lap at the end was fun as well. But
as soon as Jacko were catching me over, that Ghost is watching me 100%.
Oh yeah, that was all that was happening.
Yeah.
All right, well, congrats to all of you, and good luck for next week. I'll see you all next time for more APPF1 for the season finale of Tier 2. Goodbye.